Hi, you guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Allie Wilkins. If it's your first time here, welcome. I'm so happy that you found my page and this video, and I hope it serves you. I am a teacher of the ancient feminine. I'm a seer and an oracle. I work in the Akashic Records, and I'm a writer. And essentially, this entire page is all about supporting you with two things. One, activating your soul mission and designing your life around it, aka being who you are designed to be. And creating your whole life based on that construct instead of the systems we've been provided that we try to fit into, right? We don't operate on that paradigm in this channel. The second piece is I teach about the ancient feminine and what I call matriarchal feminine psychology. And so, what I teach around that is how do we activate the ancient feminine within ourselves? How do we activate the version of the feminine that existed pre patriarchy, where we remembered our full power? Because the patriarchal construct, of course, has diminished so much of that. So I help teach women to reactivate that in their life. So make sure you subscribe if you like those topics. You'll love my channel. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's video. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the next iteration of dark feminine energy. If you want to grab a cup of coffee or tea or green juice or something to just hang out with me for a little bit while we talk about this. We have really been sold an image of the dark feminine that is completely inaccurate. And what I'm realizing as a teacher of the dark feminine frequency, that I am supporting people in activating the different faces of the dark feminine in my work. What I see is every year that I teach this, and I teach this in a course called Realm of the Dark Feminine, every year it's like there's a different key code that now we are ready to activate as a collective. And usually, when the dark feminine awakens, she awakens because of for a few different reasons. One could be immense grief. Sometimes this can come forward when people's intuition starts, like when our third eye really starts to open and we start remembering things. This is one of the ways that she really opened up for me in remembering, like, oh, I remember the fall of the priestess temples and how the masculine dropped us. I remember how women were sacrificed. I remember seeing in the temple that I was a high priestess of, I remember seeing all of my priestess sisters being hurt, killed, exiled, all of the reverence being that once was in existence for all women, but especially for priestesses, that reverence being disintegrated into nothing. Like that amount of grief on a collective level, that all women have this piece that we will all remember at some point. So that is one area in terms of that I see a lot of priestesses being activated in their dark feminine through, but this could be through another form of grief as well, or especially through rage and anger, where it's like, okay, I actually can't bottle this shit up anymore. And so it's gonna just explode, and that can be very scary. It's like if you locked a wild tiger or lion or bear in a cage and then let it out, it's probably going to be pretty angry when it comes out of that cage. Like, why have you kept me caged for thousands of years? I say it this way. We keep our dark feminine frequency locked away in the basement of our psyche until we are ready to really meet her. Because if you're not ready, she is a force to be reckoned with. And when she first comes out, and this is typically the first layer of working with the dark feminine, it's understanding how do I channel these big feelings that she has. She's not going to come out like quiet and meek and demure. That's not the dark feminine frequency. She's a powerhouse. And there's no shame for her in relation to having emotions that are too big or to maybe being a problem or being inconvenient to others. She couldn't give two fucks about that. Like, she's like, these are my feelings, witness them. Look at what you've done to me by keeping me locked in this basement for your entire life. So it's not our fault that we've done that because we have not had modeling of how to effectively work with our dark feminine ever. In ancient times, we would have been trained in all of this stuff and we wouldn't be distorted in the way that we're hiding her away in the first place. But we don't have spaces today where number one, we've had role models of how to actually work with this energy because most of our mothers and grandmothers and maternal figures or female figures around us are still in their good girl, are still in this energy of, I want to be approved of, I want to be liked. I care more about that than being my authentic self. And this isn't true for everyone, but it's true on a societal level for most of us. So we've been encouraged to silence ourselves, to not offend others, to shrink yourself so that you don't bother other people or trigger other people, right? This is a societal thing. We need to have spaces now that we can practice this energy. This is why I created Realm of the Dark Feminine, because where do we have space to practice working with the different aspects of the dark feminine? So going back to the topic of this call today, of our teaching today, is the next iteration of the dark feminine frequency. So first she comes up and we're like, whoa, I have to just like learn how to sit with her and be with her. And like, what do I even do with the bigness of these feelings? Like, how do I even interact with this? Right? First, we have to get comfortable just being with her. And then there's a process of learning, like, okay, where am I being asked to unshackle myself? Where am I being asked to break free? Where am I being asked to be a little bit more in my wildness? Where am I learning how to not need to be approved of? And how do I start to actually embody that and enact that in my life, right? And there's a whole process where we're learning that aspect. But then, and this is what's coming in this year that I'm really feeling the dark feminine, like you guys are amateurs. You guys like, and she's not saying this to be mean or to be rude, but it's like you're in like the level 102 class when there's like 1,000 levels of teachings here. And we have to keep the ball rolling on where we're moving with this energy. So now what we're being asked to see and to look at is the dark feminine is not chaotic and unruly and wild and crazy. That's an immature, unresolved version of the dark feminine. That's the teenager dark feminine. That's she's not in her maturity yet. That's not who the dark feminine is. That's just collectively, it's like where not even most people haven't even unveiled their dark feminine yet. But for those of us doing this work, most of us are at that level where we're like, okay, I can speak my mind, but we're doing it in like a way that isn't like refined. Or we are showing up in a way that's like, I'm allowed to be chaotic. And that's not what the dark feminine is. The dark feminine is masterful. She is precise. And I think the best way to talk about this is through one of the archetypes that I teach called the Serpent Priestess. And some of you might be familiar with this title. I teach this in the realm of dark feminine. We spend an entire module working with the Serpent Priestess because she is in the highest mastery of all of the dark feminine frequencies. So the Serpent Priestess, if she had been chaotic and unruly and wild, she would have been beheaded. The Serpent Priestess would have been a woman who was typically the high priestess of her temple or someone who was in the highest mastery of her group of women that she was with. She would have been consorted to kings. And this time frame would be when the patriarchy had already risen, because during different time frames, women would have shown up differently based on what was needed, right? Priestesses would have showed up differently based on what was needed and required in that time. So during the time of the rise of the patriarchy, where there are kings, where they're conquesting, they're like greedy little bastards and they're wanting to claim as much as they can to fulfill their ego of being the king who conquered all of these lands, right? They weren't the pharaohs who were concerned with cultivating the highest consciousness to steward the civilization. They were just trying to take as much as they could. So this was also a time frame that these priestesses were still seen as being valuable. Their intuition and their gifts of sight were still seen as being incredibly valuable. So sort of like the highest masters of the priestesses would be consorted to kings and to leaders of nations, either as a wife or just as an advisor. They would be assigned to these kings. And this would have also been a time where women were losing all of their rights, where women weren't seen with respect anymore, and patriarchal religion had risen as well. So these serpent priestesses they were walking on a fine line. These kings were asking them for advice and guidance about war, about how they should guide their armies into war, about how they can get the most for their country, things like this. The priestess's job and our job as priestesses today is still this, to steward the collective consciousness. And we all do this in different capacities. The serpent priestess, her role in working with these kings, she had to understand the how to permeate darkness, how to permeate narcissism, greed, conquest, these sorts of things, how to permeate that with her light and love. So she couldn't have judgment about these people. She had to understand how to navigate their personal desires, their egoic constructs, their personal motives that were probably not of the holiest nature. She had to understand how to permeate that while and still get an outcome that was highest for the collective consciousness, that was for the best and highest good of the collective. So, like, hey, let's not murder all of these people just so you can get this land. She had to understand how to do that. And when we embody this, like I said, I teach this as a face of the dark feminine, and we work with this archetype last. How do we do that when we're interacting with people who are deep in their ego consciousness, who are not awakened yet, who are difficult people to deal with, etc.? How do we show up and permeate that space without bending? I call this like breaking your back to try to appease other people. How do you hold your own? How do you stand with your confidence and your groundedness and your rootedness in your power and still be able to permeate that sort of frequency with love? That is the dark feminine. The dark feminine's job is to uphold justice, harmony, and collective balance. So a lot of times we're taught that she's going to come in a super scary way, but that's only because most people are not willing to face off with themselves. Most people are in denial about how they're operating, or they don't want to look at the truth of things, right? If you're watching me, I would assume that you're not one of those people because we don't do that shit on this channel here. So you're probably willing to see yourself in the mirror, and you've probably worked with dark goddesses or felt the dark feminine frequency before. And she can be scary if you're not willing to face yourself. However, if you're like, oh, she's actually my friend and she's trying to help me be in my highest version of myself. All she's trying to do is to help me cut away illusions from my life. That's it. All she's trying to do is to remove me from situations that are serving no purpose for me. There's no growth anymore in them. So we start to realize that our dark feminine is the same. It's like she's trying to steward harmony and balance within our own life. That's it. She's trying to uphold justice in our own life. That's it. And her primordial power is so strong that we are not, I'm using this phrase now, like we're not even grown until we know how to work with our dark feminine in her maturity. The way we've been working with the dark feminine collectively is amateur, is childish. The dark feminine isn't chaotic and insane. She is streamlined, and she understands how to wield and channel all of her power, all of her big emotions into something that has a harmonious outcome for everyone, even if it doesn't necessarily seem like that in the beginning. So you can see what I mean, that we're being asked now, this next iteration of dark feminine frequency, are learning of how to embody this. We're being asked to come into more mastery. All right, you guys have danced under the moon naked enough. What are you going to do with your freedom? What are you going to do with your authentic power? I'm not hating on dancing under the moonlight in the woods naked. Do that. That's fun. Cool. But the dark feminine is meant for a lot more than that. She's not just meant for us to be able to express our feelings in an unhelpful or unhealthy way. That's better than bottling them up, but only for a temporary period of time. And this is what I mean. Like, there's a period of time when you're learning how to be with the dark feminine. You just have to let her out of the cage. There's nothing you can really do about it. Like, you're either choosing to stifle her forever, which will kill you. You will get disease from doing that. That energy is stagnation in your body. It's not healthy for you. So the choice is to do that or to open up the gate and be willing maybe to stumble and understanding that you're going to trip over yourself a few times and that you might like the dark feminine's power can create a lot of harm. So understanding that you might make a few mistakes. However, that is part of the process. Just like when you learn how to ride a bike, you're gonna fall off of the bike a few times. That's just a part of it. And you know that, or your parent knows that when they're teaching a toddler how to ride their bike. You know that that's a part of it, and you just have to get through that stage. It's the same thing with the dark feminine. So collectively, well, I don't even want to say collectively. I'll say collectively for the type of people who are watching my videos. Collectively, we're ready to step into greater mastery. And I also want you to realize if you're someone who watches my stuff or finding yourself watching this video, you are already in a certain cohort of mastery and of people who are charged with being the wayshowers for the rest of the planet, how to embody this frequency. So I want to just remind you that you are being charged with that as a task, as an assignment, and we really can't avoid it. We really can't avoid it. The dark feminine, I always say it this way, she's going to tap on your shoulder, then she's going to shake you a little bit, and then she's going to flip you upside down until you listen to her. I say this about Kali, and we work with Kali in the liberator archetype, which is such a valuable archetype. Oh my gosh. We work with Kali and a few other goddesses there, but I always say, she has the necklace of skulls. The skulls represent the illusions that she has sliced away from you, that she's trying to show you, and that you dissolve. The ego attachments that you dissolve. That's what we all have a skull necklace that we're wearing. It's just a matter of how many skulls are on it. It's not people that people are like, oh, it's people that she's killed or something. No, it's ego illusions. Is attachment to suffering. That's it. You're going to hear her as she's approaching you to try to work with you. You're going to hear those skull necklaces. Like you're going to sense her coming in. I talk about it like she's walking in your neighborhood. And you're going to hear the skull necklaces clanking up against each other. You'll know when she's coming. You'll be like, maybe I should leave this relationship, or like, maybe I should quit this job, or maybe I shouldn't interact with this person. And then she's going to knock on your door, and then she's going to kick the door down if you still don't answer it. And then she's going to come up and grab you out of bed and drag you down the stairs. And then she's going to set your house on fire. If you don't listen to her, this is why people are afraid, because if you're in denial, if you don't listen to your intuition, and if you try to avoid it or dismiss it, she's like, hello, I'm trying to help you here. Like, do you know how lucky you are that you have me showing up at your door to try to help you, and you have the audacity to not listen? I will make it so that you cannot ignore me. It doesn't have to be that way. We can learn how to work with these frequencies. I say like holding their hand. You can walk hand in hand with them, and it's not that dramatic when you do that. You learn how to work with that energy of destruction, but it's destruction for healing and for creation and for regeneration. You can't avoid destruction in your life. It's always going to find you. There's the cycles of creation, sustainment, and destruction. These are the different types of goddesses, even that there are the creator gods and goddesses, creator gods and goddesses, sustainer gods and goddesses, destructor or just destroyer gods and goddesses. We have to be comfortable with all of them. They're all incorporated into our life. So anywho, the next iteration of the dark feminine, this is what we're being asked to step into. Greater mastery. We're no longer going to be allowed to be children in relation to our dark feminine frequency. We can't have tantrums, and we can't just scream at people because we're expressing ourselves. We have to understand how to do it with precision and mastery. And I think the biggest thing I want you to really hear, the dark feminine is not utter chaos. That's immaturity. And the way that I teach the dark feminine goes against almost everything you will have ever heard about the dark feminine, because the way she is portrayed to us is as if she is the femme fatale trying to hurt everybody around her, this beautiful, seductive. There are aspects of the seductress that are helpful for us to embody, and I teach her in a different capacity in Realm of the Dark Feminine because she has aspects like confidence, like detachment, that are very important aspects of the dark feminine. However, the way she's taught is like, oh, she's a man eater, right? She hates men. No, that's not the dark feminine at all. That's her shadow side. So we have to understand like the way she's being presented to us is usually in her shadow aspect, because people who are of high integrity, people who want to do good in the world are going to see that and be like, no, thank you. Ew, I'm not going to embody that. So then you have the people who would do well with the dark feminine, who would support the planet with the dark feminine, who don't want to embody it because they see it hurting people. And then you see the people who have low integrity, who are fine being man eaters. No offense if you've once identified with this, but who are fine understanding that they're hurting other people. They don't have an awareness that their consequences or actions have impact. Those are the people who are then stepping into the shadow aspect, making her look and giving her an image that is not her. Or the third aspect of that is we are sold images of the dark feminine that do not go up against patriarchal construct, because the dark feminine will eat the patriarchy for breakfast. That is why we have been discouraged from being in her frequency, because if all of us had our dark feminine installed, the entire world would be dramatically different. Guaranteed, promise, 1000%. The entire world would be so different if all of us had our dark feminine activated in her healthy maturity. So we're taught images of the dark feminine that are like, oh, you should be really seductive and you should be really like intriguing and mysterious. Does that person go up against the patriarchy? No. She's hot and she's alluring, and we can bring those qualities in, but there's a reason that certain faces are the ones that are taught about her. Nobody is out here teaching about the divine madwoman except for me. I'm not saying I'm the only person who teaches about the dark feminine, but I'm just saying that's not what society is demonstrating. Like, how do we be in our divine madwoman, which is energies like this, Frida? Energies like these eccentric, artistic geniuses who are ostracized because they're not following the model of the Matrix. I teach 7 archetypes in Realm of the Dark Feminine that take us through every face of the Dark Feminine's frequency so that we can learn where our edge is and what we're being asked to step into in each of these faces. So that is going to be starting August 24th. If you want to join, it is profound. It is life-changing. Once you join, you can always, I do this every fall. So it's starting August 24th this year. We're going to spend a little bit more time. It's a 3-month experience this year. Every year I offer it again. And if you've already signed up for it, you get it for like 70% off or something. So you can join again, or you'll have the materials that you can just do on your own again whenever you want. And I highly recommend that people do it. And a lot of people do that. And they tell me like, oh, Allie, I did the program again this year by myself, and now I'm noticing this and this and this, and I've grown so much in this area. So this work you can keep forever. You can do it over and over again, and you're always going to be embodying something deeper and new within yourself. It is incredibly powerful, and this is why I keep teaching it year after year. So I'm also going to be doing a free masterclass that will serve as the introduction. So you can sign up for that and you'll have access to it for about a week if you want to watch the replay. We're going to do a teaching that goes deeper into this next iteration of the dark feminine energy. The masterclass is called the evolution of dark feminine energy. So we're going to go deeper into some specific concepts from each of the faces of the dark feminine. And we're also going to do an Akashic Records journey that will lead you into an attunement for yourself of whatever your next deepest iteration of her frequency is. So if you want to sign up for that, I'll have the link in the comments. But I will say, if you want to join Realm of the Dark Feminine, now is when it's being offered at the best price point. Now is early bird pricing. That's only going to be for about a week after I post this video, and then it's going to go to regular pricing. Also, the first 5 people who buy it and pay in full are going to get a free Akashic Records reading with me, complimentary on the house, worth $444. So If you know that you want to join, you should join now because you can get access to these special offers. At the time I'm doing the masterclass, it's going to be regular pricing, and there probably won't be special offers left. So if you want to join it, the earlier you join, you'll save the most money and you'll get the best price point for that. However, if you want to check out the masterclass, I mean, if you want to just come to the masterclass and that's it, I would love to have you there. But if you want to kind of wait and feel that out, totally fine. You can do that as well. Just know that it's going to be, you're going to get a large amount of savings now. Versus if you wait. Also, I'm doing something really, really, really special this year with it that I'm so excited for. And I'm doing something called RODF times Sekhmet because it sounds like it's like a fashion drop or something. And basically, what I realize is that some people within this type of work need a little bit more private support. So you're going to get the whole group experience, which, by the way, includes we have full curriculum for each of the 7 archetypes, which includes video teachings, intricate guidebooks. I'm a writer as well, so I teach you through writing. I teach you the intricacies of each of these archetypes. And then there's also an Akashic journey included for each archetype. And we spend 2 weeks with each of these archetypes, so you have some time to feel into them. And we also have bi-weekly group calls and a Voxer chat. So that's a group. If you're not familiar with Voxer, it's an app that's a group chat. So we'll be talking as a group for 3 months. So anytime you have something you want to share that you're learning, any challenges that come forward, anything you want to ask or you just want to talk about, like you can do that in the Voxer group. And then also meet other women who are committed to doing this work and like maybe find your best friend, you know? Most of my best friends are literally people that I've found in groups like this. So it's a really beautiful place to meet like-minded people. But with the RODF times Sekhmet drop, I'm going to include 3 private Akashic record sessions. Sekhmet is a goddess who is going to be governing the 2025 version of Realm of the Dark Feminine. So we can work with Sekhmet specifically, but also if there's another goddess who is more supportive for you, like Lilith or Kali or the Morrigan or someone that works more with what you're specifically working on, they will come through in your sessions. And so you'll have 3 private sessions with me throughout the 3 months it's really going to give you a full spectrum approach, like from every angle you're going to be supported. So if you want that, that also is being offered at an early bird rate right now, and it will go up in, like I said, about a week around August 1st. That pricing is going to go up. So if you want to join any of those, I'll have all the links in the comments for you. The masterclass, the Realm of the Dark Feminine training this year, the initiation, or the RODF times Sekhmet, the Realm of the Dark Feminine with private sessions. All of those will be available for you. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments here or ask me on Instagram or something. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning about the next iteration of the Dark Feminine and what we're being asked to step into. So I would love to hear any thoughts that you have about this, any questions, any comments, please put them in the comments. Please give the video a thumbs up. That helps more people to find me, to find my channel, to find my work. It helps me, and it also helps other people receive information that they might need at a particular point in their life. So just by liking the video, you're always helping more people find it. And of course, subscribe if you want more videos like this. And I have, like I said, a whole Dark Feminine playlist. There's probably 40 videos in there. I don't know, I can't really remember, but there's a lot of them. So I'll put that up in the corner here if you want to watch any of those. That will talk more about some of the different faces of the feminine as well. So, all right, I hope to see you guys in the masterclass and maybe for Realm of the Dark Feminine. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, life, week, eternity, etc. Bye.